Today's lesson is 8.2 rates. The first word that I want you to know today is what a rate is. A rate is a ratio of two quantities measured in different units. Okay, so last week we were talking about ratios. This one we're going to kind of talk about different units would be like 1 mile per hour. Okay, so you can see these are different units because this one is a mile and this one is an hour. Okay, so that would be an example of a rate. Talking about a unit rate, it is a rate that has a denominator of 1. Okay, so that's the key part. You've got to have a denominator of 1. So if you look at the example I just gave you, 1 mile per 1 hour. Does that one have a denominator of 1?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay, it says 1 hour, so that is a unit rate. All right, so for problem A, we're going to find the unit rate. Look at your definition for me real quick and read to me again what it means to have a unit rate. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and put this in a fraction form. If I do $54 in 6 hours, okay, so let's just say that I, went to the store, I was working there, and I earned $54 in 6 hours. To find a unit rate, you want a denominator of 1. So what would I need to divide 6 hours by in order to get a denominator of 1?
You have to divide 54 by 6.
Okay, divided by 6. Now, if I divide my denominator by 6, I have to be fair and divide my numerator by 6. Because if you think about it, what does 6 over 6 mean? 1. So I am just dividing by 1. If I divide by 1, I will always get myself. All right? What's $54 divided by 6? $9. You got to make sure you give me the units. And what is 6 hours divided by 6? 1 what? Hour. Okay, so once again, main thing you've got to make sure that you tell me every time is the units are attached. Now, the units are attached right here because it's a dollar sign, all right? Now, how would I read this? What's my answer? Okay, I do not want it read $9 over 1 hour. Let's look at this lovely creature I have for you right here. What sound does that make when it's happy? When it's happy. Purr. Okay, so remember the cat. When you read me something like this, this says $9 per hour. Okay, so that's the key word I want you to remember for me when we are doing unit rate. My instructions here are still asking me to find the unit rate. Whenever I find the unit rate, what does my denominator have to be?
It has to have the 2 on the top.
No, look at your notes. A denominator of 1, okay? So let's go ahead and put 2 cups and 8 servings as a fraction. How would that be?
2 over 8.
Now you've got to use the units attached to it. 2 cups over 8 servings, or per 8 servings, okay? So let's just imagine you're making some pudding for 8 people, all right? You need 2 cups of milk to be put into it. But I want to know the unit rate. Remember, that means a denominator of 1. How do I turn this 8 servings into a denominator of 1?
Divide by 8.
Divide by 8. Every time you're just going to divide by whatever the denominator is. And then you've got to be fair and do it to the top. Okay, so go ahead and pull out your calculators.
Negative.
What is 2 cups divided by 8? 1/4. Okay, we'll talk about that here in just a minute. 1/4 what?
Over 8.
Cups. You've got to put the units attached. Over, what is 8 servings divided by 8? 1 serving. Remember, the whole point for having a unit rate is to have a 1 on the bottom. Now, if I just made a fraction, do you think it makes sense to have a fraction on top? No, you cannot have a fraction as a numerator. So what do you think that 1/4 needs to be turned into? Okay, we need to turn it into a decimal, and what do you get? 0.25. So read this to me, how you would read a unit rate. 0.25 cups per serving. Okay, so remember, keep this lovely per sound in there. Now, it's not spelled per like a cat. Instead, it's spelled
P-E-R.
per. Okay, but just remember, when asking for a unit rate, I don't want you to tell me 0.25 cups over a serving. I need to know it's 0.25 cups per serving. Determine which is the better buy. Bulk pasta, which is 10 pounds for $15, or packaged pasta, which is 2 pounds for $3.98. Do you guys know what it means to have bulk pasta?
Yes, it means like a big box full of pasta.
It means a lot. How many of you guys, your parents are members of Sam's Club or Costco? All right. When you go there, you typically get things big. You get a lot of them, okay? So in this case, bulk pasta, it's only selling you 10 pounds, all right? The packaged pasta is where you would get from like Winn-Dixie or Publix. You can get it in smaller amounts. So we're just trying to figure out what the better deal is, which one I'm getting more for my money, okay? So let's check this out. I want you to turn 10 pounds for $15 into a fraction. How would I do that?
10 over $15.
Not just 10 over.
10 pounds over $15.
10 pounds over $15. Now, the whole goal is to figure out a unit rate. That means how much am I going to get for $1? How should I get $15 to turn into $1?
By 15.
You always will just divide it by itself. Whatever I do to the top, and I've got to be fair, do it to the bottom, okay? Because 15 over 15 equals 1. Put that in your calculators for me, please, to find the unit rate. All right, Michael, what'd you get?
46 repeating over, or $1.
Okay, 0.6 what? 0.6 repeating pounds per dollar. All right, so that's the unit rate for bulk pasta. Let's go ahead and go down to the packaged pasta. We know that we got 2 pounds for $3.98. Emma, how do I figure out what my unit rate is? Remember, you want to turn that denominator into a 1 to find the unit rate. So how do I turn that into a 1? Good job. We're going to divide by the denominator on the top and the bottom. All right, so we got a big number. Tell me what number you got.
0.5025125628.
Okay, so this is like a number that just keeps on going and going and going forever. When you have something like that, I am not going to require you to put all those numbers. Instead, I just want you to go to the 10th place when there's an extended number, a bunch of numbers there. So if you put that to the 10th place, what would you have? 0.5. Instead, we're going to put 0.5 what? 0.5 pounds. Per what? Per $1. Okay, so let's just imagine you go into the store and you say, I have $1. If you get the bulk pasta, you're going to get 0.6 pounds. If you get the packaged pasta, you're going to get 0.5 pounds. If I pay $1, which one would you guys rather have?
The bulk pasta.
0.5.
Okay, this right here, 0.6, is bigger than 0.5. Now, I do not want you just to come up here and box this in. Instead, it's asking you, determine which is the better buy. Which one is it? Okay, so your answer underneath it, I want you to write bulk pasta is the better buy.
Bulk.
The next problem we're doing is asking us or teaching us about finding the average speed. We have an athlete that ran for 3 hours and 20 minutes to complete a 15-mile race. What was the athlete's average speed? So while doing this, you've got a formula here. I want you guys to go ahead and draw a red fluffy cloud around this in your notes because that shows, I want this to stand out to you. Anytime that it's asking you for average speed, this is the formula you're going to use. So it says the average rate, which is the same thing as the average speed, is distance divided by time, or you can see shortened. What does the abbreviation say? A equals D over T. So just know when you're doing this, you've got to memorize this formula. This is how you would find average speed or average rate, distance divided by time. So the first thing you want to do that you'll see here, it says 3 hours and 20 minutes. I do not want my time to be in 2 separate units. I don't want it to be in hours and in minutes. So we are going to convert all of that just into minutes. So the problem A says to rewrite the time so that the units are all the same. So we're going to convert 3 hours into minutes. So who can tell me what fact we would need to know about hours and minutes? I want to know the fact I need to know.
The fact is every hour there's 60 minutes, so you do 3
Okay,
times 6.
every hour there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, so you're simply just going to multiply by 60 minutes over an hour because these hours right here that you see, they're going to cancel out. All right, so guys, what's 3 times 60?
180.
180 minutes. So basically what that told you is 3 hours is the same thing as 180 minutes. Now, is that it? Is my answer 180?
You gotta add them 20 minutes.
Okay, we got to see it's not only 3 hours, it's also 20 minutes. So let's add that 20 minutes in. And how many minutes is that?
200.
Okay, that's the same thing as 200 minutes. So anytime something's asking you to find average speed, you got to make sure all the units are exactly the same. So we just wanted to switch our hours and minutes into one specific unit, which was minutes. Now that we've converted our time to the same units, we can find the average speed. Tell me, what is the formula I need to use?
Average rate is
A equals D over T. Average rate equals distance divided by time. What is the total distance that it tells me?
200 minutes.
Distance, how long you went.
200? 15 miles.
15 miles. Okay, the distance I went is 15 miles. What's the time I went?
200 minutes.
200 minutes. Okay, I don't want you to come up here and put 3 hours and 20 minutes. You've got to put it to where you've got all one unit. Okay, now, when you're finding the average speed, you've got to make sure that you find it per unit rate. What does the denominator have to be for a unit rate? 1. How do I get this 200 minutes to turn into a 1?
Divide by 200.
Divide by 200 on the top and the bottom. Put that in your calculator and see what you get out. Now don't forget, you've got to put the units attached to it. All right, so tell me what it would be as a unit rate, guys.
0.075 miles.
0.07. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for reading it. 0.07 miles per minute. Okay, and that is what his average speed is. This problem right here is a review of what we learned from last week. It asks you to write a ratio as a fraction in simplest form. How do I put 16 to 48 as a fraction? 16 over 48. Can that be simplified at all? What can go into a 16 that can also go into a 48? A 2? An 8? Okay, we'll try an 8 because that's bigger than a 2. What's 16 divided by 8? 2. 48 divided by 8? Is there anything that can go into a 2 that can also go into a 6? A 2. When I do this, what do I get? 1/3. Can that be simplified at all? No. All right, so you can see here I had divide by 8 and I had divide by 2. If you multiply those together, it's a 16. So we really could have put a 16 into both of them. I don't care how you get the answer as long as it's simplified. This table here shows you the wins and the losses for both the Pacers and the Warriors. So the first one asks us to write a ratio for wins to losses for the Warriors. So we're just going to be dealing with the Warriors here. Who can tell me what you wrote for your ratio? Kyla, what'd you do?
15 over 23.
You did what?
15 over 23.
Okay, she got 15 over 23. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Disagree. Yes.
Why do we disagree?
Because I disagree.
Notice you did Pacers, but careful because it's asking for the Warriors. So, can you correct that for me?
8 over 30.
Okay, instead of saying 8 over 30, 8 to 30. Okay, that's my ratio. Can that be simplified? Yeah. What would it be? 4/15. Okay, you can show me that you divided by 2 if you want, or you can just show it to me simplified. So it is 4 to 15. Next up, write a ratio for losses to game played for the Pacers. Who wants to do this one?
Alex.
What you got?
30 to 38. And simplify it and get
Okay, hold on. He says 30 to 38. I've asked for the losses. How many did the Pacers have for losses?
23.
23. You guys got to look very carefully for the information, okay? Because these are silly mistakes you guys are making. So, JD, try it again. 23 to 38. How'd you figure out 38? All right, all you have to do is you add their total losses and wins. And that is the simplified form because it will not be any more simplified. Okay? Questions? All right, here we go. Tonight's homework, 10 problems. Go ahead and write this down, and then you guys can get started on your homework for tonight.